Welcome back, Charleston. You're watching Navigate Your Wealth, brought to you by the team of Compass Financial. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, here with both Karen and Sam, the dynamic mother-daughter duo who really has such a passion to making sure all of your financial affairs are in order. And that's why we've dedicated today's entire show to the important conversation of estate planning. And before the break, you all generously offered this amazing deal that you've partnered with Legacy Lock, and you're able to offer a significant discount to you, the viewer, if you need help getting your estate plan in order. So I'd love for you to talk through what all's included with that Legacy Lock estate plan.
Absolutely. You know, one of the biggest reasons, other than can't decide who's going to be the guardian or the cost being the barrier, that people don't do an estate plan is because it's confusing. It's very complex. So what I want to do is not only talk about what's included in the Legacy Lock plan, but what each piece is.
Yes.
So the very first thing is a will. Now, people say, oh, I have a will, so I don't need anything else. And I need you to understand that a will is simply a map. If you want to go from here to Boston, I know today you use your GPS, but in the old days, we opened up a map. So the map only showed you what highways you needed to take to be able to get to Boston, but it wasn't the vehicle that got you there. The will is the exact same thing. In your will, you will stipulate exactly who you want to get which assets or which pieces of jewelry or all of your other possessions. But with a will, the only way you get to get those assets transferred to your loved ones is through probate. That's right. With a will, you are designated to go to probate. And the reason is what I stated in the beginning of the show. The only way we can get that asset transferred from your name into theirs is with your signature. And it's really hard to get the deceased to pick up the pen and sign that document. So probate does it on your behalf. So that's what the will does. That's the first piece. The second piece is power of attorney. You must have a power of attorney for both health care and for financial decisions. So imagine you're in an accident and you're knocked unconscious and you're in a coma. You're not dead, but you also cannot sign that document. The person that you designate as your power of attorney for financial decisions or health care decisions will be the one that is designated to be able to make those decisions for you. Now, something else I want to point out, if you are 18 years of age or older, if you have children or grandchildren who are 18 years of age or older, that power of attorney needs to be done for them as well. When Samantha and her brother Scott were 18 years of age and older, we had the power of attorney taken care of and signed. And I had them keep one copy in the glove compartment and the other copy I had. Because if they go into a hospital, I may be their parent, I may be the one that's paying the bill, but I no longer have control to make those decisions for them. I didn't know that until, you know, a decade ago. So that's important. So that power of attorney is very, very important. And then, of course, the healthcare directive is the end-of-life decisions.
Yes.
You know, you could have had lunch discussion with your loved one and said, listen, honey, if anything happens to me, make sure you pull the plug. But when you walk out of that restaurant, if you are hit by the bus, you're not dead, but you're in a coma or you're hooked up to life support, doesn't matter what you and he had the conversation about, unless it's in writing, unless it's documented, you will stay hooked up to that hospital forever. And that is just putting money. Now, you may want to stay hooked up, you may not want to have them pull the plug, but you don't have the option unless it's in writing. So the Legacy Lock package will include all of those pieces and we'll walk you through every single one and help you designate who the right people are to help make those decisions. If you're married, it's likely that your spouse is that first person. But besides that, we want to list a contingent, because if you and your spouse are in that accident together, it's so critical that you have that other person named.
Sure. Well, and I think, to your point, it's complicated. It can be very overwhelming, and that's why this is such an attractive, opportunity for folks to have it all done for them in one fell swoop. I don't think folks understand often why probate can be so problematic. So I just want to touch on that, because not only is it very expensive, It's very time consuming. It could take months, years in most cases, right, for all that to go through. But it's also a matter of public record. So think about this. Say you're no longer here, but do you want your nosy neighbor, your nosy brother-in-law, sister-in-law being able to go down to the courthouse? Any Joe Blow can go down there, pull up a copy of your will, see what you had, who gets what. It just gets very messy very quickly when the proper planning's not done.
Absolutely. Well, we have a client, this is actually a perfect segue, Kristen. We have a client whose father said, I do not want either of my two daughters to have any issues when I go. And so I am going to make sure that everything is taken care of. And unfortunately, there were a few assets that he didn't realize were not properly taken care of. He had a will, but as Mom said, that's just the roadmap.
Right.
It doesn't actually execute how it's going to happen. And so in his case, for his two daughters, they ended up having their assets go to probate. So now they're mourning the loss of their father.
Right.
They're trying to deal with how we're going to get this out of probate, how we're going to allocate the assets. There's just two of them. They knew exactly what needed to happen. This was so ridiculous, but that is the law. There wasn't a trust in place to be able to execute his wishes. So instead, it took 2.5 years.
Wow.
It took a lot of money, and one of the daughters was in the Northeast where he was. And so she was essentially the one that was responsible for it. Meanwhile, the other daughter was in Charleston. She was our client, and there was nothing she could do from far away. So all of the burden was now put on her sister. So she's trying to help remotely. I mean, that is not what his wish was.
Right.
That is not what your wish is either. If you have a desire to transfer your assets, whether it's to your family, whether it's to charity, whether it's to organizations, to the community, it doesn't matter where you want it to go. That's your wish. But don't you want to make sure that it gets there in the easiest, most streamlined ability?
Absolutely. Sam and Karen, thank you so much. And you know, we said at the top of the show, we know that this isn't always the most fun thing to think about. But I would challenge you to recognize that this is by far one of the most loving things that you can ever do for those that you leave behind. Because as Sam's story just illustrated, when you're grieving, that is not the time on top of everything else that you want to wade through a nightmare and a mess that's been left in your lap. And so often this happens unintentionally and it can be avoided. So don't wait. The time is now. If you've been having that nagging feeling, you've been putting this off. I know so many people have it on their to-do list. Oh, someday I'm going to take care of this. The time is now. We encourage you, pick up the phone and call 855-348-3073. Again, this is for no cost, no charge, no obligation to have the conversation with Karen and Sam. It's simply an invitation to speak with them, see what you need. If you do need that estate planning package, again, they have this wonderful deal with Legacy Lock. It's going to give you $500 off for under $1,000. You can have all of this buttoned up, and you can have the peace of mind of knowing that your affairs are in order. More on Navigate Your Wealth right after this.